Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This Shabbos is a very special Shabbos, as today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the beginning of the month of Hanukkah, in which we are celebrating light over darkness. Today is a very special day in the Hasidic calendar, as the day in which the Rebbe came back to the shul, to his community, to the world, to lead us for another 16 years after 1978. His very difficult heart attack, in which the doctor said the Rebbe would not return. And Baruch Hashem, we were able to have his leadership for many more years. And so today we celebrate that, and we'll be in shul tonight at 6:30 and tomorrow at 10 o'clock with the Fabring in honor of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And so this Shabbos is Shabbos Toldot, and it says, Ve'ele Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram holy des Yitzchak, which means, and these are the children, these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham had Isaac. And obviously the Torah never says anything extra. And so why would it say, these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Avram? Avram had Yitzchak. Obviously, if Yitzchak is the son of Avram, then Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. And the answer, the Rebbe explains, is that not only was Avram proud of his son Yitzchak, but Yitzchak was proud of his father. Not only was Yitzchak proud of his father Avram, in which many people will say, look at my, the famous story. There was once a Jew at a deli in New York, and there was no kosher symbol on it, and I wasn't sure if it was kosher, and he didn't look like he was observant. And so somebody comes into the store and says, is this place kosher? He's like, is this kosher? He says, look at my grandfather who's on the wall. Look at his picture. Was a grand rabbi with a hat and a beard, and it looked like he was out of Europe, and the whole garb. And he says, look at, this is my grandfather who's on the wall. And so he says, if your picture was on the wall, but your grandfather was standing behind the counter, I wouldn't have any questions. Meaning, sometimes we're very proud of who we came from, our lineage, our grandparents and great-parents, and we have such a beautiful lineage. But also, Avram holy es Yitzchak, which means Abraham was actually proud of his son's accomplishments as well. We don't see that the Avram, it says Yishmael ben Avram, it says Ve'ela told us Yishmael ben Avram. These are the sons of Yishmael, the son of Avram, but we don't see that Avram is holy as Yishmael, because he was not particularly proud of how Yishmael acted. And so it teaches something very powerful, and that is that not only was Avram proud of Yitzchak, but not only was Yitzchak proud of Avram, but Avram was proud of Yitzchak. And the reason is because he continued in his way, continued in his legacy. And we see that's very powerful by the Akedah, by the sacrificing of Isaac, in which Avram is taking his son Yitzchak, and Yitzchak asks him, where is the wood? Where is the sacrifice? And he says, you're the sacrifice ultimately. And remember, Yitzchak is not a little child. When they learn in school, as my son came home last week, and he said, and Yitzchak was a little baby. He brought him up to the Akedah. For whatever reason, we always learn this as Yitzchak being a child, by sacrifice. But he was definitely not a child. Yitzchak was 37 years old. And so he's the age of 37, and he's going with his father, because his father says, this is what we have to do. God said, I have to sacrifice you. And Yitzchak's going along. Isaac is going along with his father and said, this is what God said. Then I trust you and I trust him. And so you see that their faith was exactly the same. Even though Avram went through so many different challenges, and Yitzchak lives a life primarily primarily in the land of Israel and without any real challenges, nevertheless, he is on the path together with his father. Wherever his father's going, he's going. Wherever he's going, his father's going. And it's such a beautiful thing that the Torah mentions it, because it teaches us the value of educating our children and really putting our children onto our path. And so it only works. A lot of times you have parents that will say, my children should do this, my children should do that. Why don't you talk to my children about doing this? Why don't you talk to them about doing that? But what about you? If they don't see you doing something at home, why would they emulate that? And so you can't just ask people, your children, even though you can tell them what to do for a very short part of their life, if they don't see that's important for you at home, it's not going to be important to them. And so people say, why should I marry Jewish? My parents didn't they didn't keep Shabbat, they didn't put on tefillin, they didn't eat kosher. All of a sudden it's important for me, they want me to marry Jewish so they can feel good about themselves. And so we don't do anything at home that should show the importance of Judaism. We can't just force and say, this is what's important to us, but this is what's important to us. Well, no other values were important to us at home. And so the next generation doesn't have that same feeling like the previous generation, because as we continuously go further away from our generations or our grandparents and great-grandparents, who live in the time of a more spiritual Judaism, it's important for us to impart in our children the importance of Judaism, not just to marry Jewish, which is obviously very important, but they should feel that they should want to marry Jewish because we have Judaism at home, because we have Torah at home, because we have Shabbos at home, we have holidays at home. And if we do that, then for sure we will not only be proud, not only will our children be able to say, remember our grandfather who was a nice, observant Jew who did many good things, but we will also be able to say we are proud of who our children became and continuing our legacy and making Judaism their legacy. Shabbat Shalom.